So the Shroud of Turin, I remember when I first heard about the Shroud of Turin, it was in the 1980s. In the 1980s, they did some experiments on the Shroud that said, oh, it's a hoax, it's fake, it's not real. So I thought, oh, it's been debunked, it's not a real thing. Well, I don't know if you know this, in the last 30 to 40 years, they have done a bunch more experiments, and the odds is that it's not a hoax. So what is this? There's more, you can find out more scientifically about this in the future, maybe even tomorrow. But here's this image, right? It's a cloth that they allege is what Jesus was buried in. That Luke's gospel says Joseph of Arimathea took his body and wrapped it in a linen robe and put it in his own tomb. The belief is that this shroud is actually that linen cloth. So you can see here, there's the front and the back because that's English. And that's the image, right, of a man. And they say that's the image of a man who is between 5'9" and 5'11", apparently the perfect height for a man. Which I've inherited from my parents and Jesus. But it's of a man who's been scourged, a man who's been crucified, a man who's been beaten to death. And you can see on the shroud, in the negative relief, you can see that this person has been scourged. Now, if you know anything about this, you know anything about Jewish law. Jewish law was you could only scourge someone 39 times, because anything more would be considered cruel and unusual. The Romans didn't care about Jewish law. In fact, the Romans had taken a flagellum. A flagellum is a wood stick about a foot long, and with 2 to 7 leather straps attached to the end of that, with weights and pieces of metal, broken bone, glass, and they whipped Jesus. If they look at the shroud, here's the image of his head. You look at the shroud, you can see that Jesus was lashed 120 times. And he was lashed from the top of his head to the soles of his feet, on the front and on the back. We're familiar with the crown of thorns, right? We see crucifixes all the time. We see this little crown going around Jesus' head. Well, in the shroud, it indicates that Jesus didn't have a mere crown of thorns, but had more of a helmet of thorns. That it was over his entire scalp. You can see blood flowing from Christ's head, from thorns that were anywhere from 2 to 4 inches long. I used to think that the image was all blood. No, these are the blood images on the shroud. These are the wounds on Jesus' body. And this is his face. There's some forensic scientists who have done some research on this, and they've said that there were clearly 2 men who beat Jesus, who scourged him. And they could tell because that one of the men was more into it than the other, because he was beaten more severely on one side than the other. There's a doctor who contacted me. He's also a forensic pathologist, and he studied the shroud himself, and he wrote this down when it came to the face of Jesus. If you just have to look at the face of Jesus. And the man said this, the doctor said, the assailant standing on the right side of the man, of Jesus here, vigorously and repeatedly beat him on the face with a stick about 1 3/4 inch in diameter. And you can see this right now. See that his right eye and cheek are swollen. His nose is dislocated, and the cartilage has been torn from the nasal spine. It says the wound to the area of the eye is almost triangular, indicating that it was delivered with a forceful upward blow. The base of it is 3/4 inch long. Now, such a wound would cause a good deal of pain, as well as blurred vision and a black eye. In that same spot, there's another blow that dislocated the cartilage of the nose. As you look at this image, remember from the Bible, they blindfolded him. And they said, prophesy. Who is it that struck you? Pause on that for 1 second. And look at this face. And realize that when they say prophesy for us, who struck you? Jesus knew. Like Jesus knew exactly who it was that hit him so hard, it dislocated the cartilage from the nasal spine. Jesus knew exactly who it was who gave him a black eye. Jesus knew exactly who it was who spat on him. Because the truth is, it was me. The truth is, every time we look at the crown of thorns, I did that. Every time I give into my pride and I put myself ahead of someone else, that's what I do. Every time we see the hands of Jesus pierced, I did that. Every time I reach for something that didn't belong to me. When I look at this face of Jesus, beaten and abused and broken, I realize I did that every time I didn't look someone in the eye who needed my help.